So you're interested in starting a Palworld server, but you don't fully know where to start, or you don't know how to get your connection fully set up. That's not a problem. This part is more on how to actually get the networking process set up so that your friends can connect to your server and way you can play on your server as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the caveats of setting up your own manual dedicated server. On the left here, we have if you're connecting to your own server, you have to use the 192.168.x.x. You can do this by typing in something like ipadder or ipconfig on Windows, and that will give you your IP or whatever device is hosting your server. And then you want to connect to that IP when you get to the login page, because you can't connect through the community server. I'll throw up an image here real quick. Boop. So you're going to want to put in your own personal IP there, and then you want to add colon. And then you're also going to want to add the port number that your server is currently running on. So in one of my cases, it was just 8211, and then you're good to go. So the biggest caveat is that when your AMP server is sending information to the Play It, because this also is running Play It. So this is also running your Play It tunnel. So your Play It tunnel, right, is transferring data to the router all the way to Play It like this, right? So it's sending back data like that. And then Play It is only communicating with the server. And then it's also sending out to everyone else out there. And that includes like your Xbox players, your PS5 players, and that was supposed to be PC. I never finished it. So anyone can join through the community servers. So I'll throw up an image of that real quick. You can just literally type in the name of your server, click on it, hit connect, and you're in. So we'll demonstrate all of this in a minute. Anyone outside of your local network is able to connect through this IP that we have right here. But anyone inside your own local network cannot. And that's the biggest catch. So when you're testing, I recommend you have a friend that's at a different house so that you can have them try to connect to your server and you don't start crashing out about why you're not connecting. So without further ado, I think we're ready to begin, and I'll explain my process of why we're doing things. All right. So before we get started, I recommend you go ahead and download the KubeCoders AMP platform. So depending on what you're running it on, you might want to install either the Ubuntu by using the one-line bash curl command. But if you're on Windows, you might want to come down here and download it for either like the Windows Server or for a Windows desktop. So like on here, this device is a Windows, so you would probably want to install the ampsetup.msi. I personally run on a Ubuntu server that's dedicated for this stuff, so it really depends. A quick note, AMP is a paid for service. It's around $10. It could be less or more depending on how you get it, but I personally like it. I know some people use Pterodactyl, and these steps can probably be followed similarly or by editing the config to allow traffic through. But I personally would recommend going ahead and getting AMP and setting it up for like a Ubuntu server. The second thing you'll want to install is playit.gg. So playit.gg is a tunneling service that allows you to traffic your computer's network data to other people on the internet using one of their IPs. So you don't actually have to port forward your computer, because port forwarding is not the safest thing to do if you do not know what you are doing. I won't say that a playit.gg is fully safe. I do not personally know all the backend stuff that goes on, but I do trust it enough to host my servers. And as long as you aren't doing something where you're hosting maybe over 32 plus players, you should be fine on the amount of throughput that playit.gg can handle. So I recommend it for when you're doing fun personal servers for your friends and you don't want to have to do a bunch of networking setup. You can go ahead and you can download the Windows installer. Great for Minecraft servers as well. That's what this was originally developed for, I believe. You can also do Linux. That's what I did. And then they have install scripts for that. So you can just copy and paste it into your server. And then boom, it's up. Once you have both of those installed, we can go ahead and move on to the next steps when you're ready. So now that we're here at our instances, let's go ahead and create our instance. So we'll hit create instance. And then we can go to select application. We're going to type in Palworld. And then we can give it a friendly name, but let's make sure to set it to after creation, do nothing. This is way we can edit our settings before we start. So we'll hit create instance. And now we have a Palworld instance being created. So now we wait for our instance. Let's go ahead and go to playit.gg, right? So go ahead and sign in. So now that you've signed in, we can actually go ahead and create a new tunnel. So let's go ahead and do that. So you'll want to go to your tunnels and then add new tunnel. So let's call it Palworld Fun, right? Then we can hit next. I actually recommend not choosing the Palworld option. I know that's weird. It probably is fine, but so we're just going to want to say UDP and then hit next. Port count, we'll leave it as 1. So we'll put here Palworld. Then we can hit next. And then you have to say, I will not use this tunnel for malware abuse or prohibited software. And if it doesn't let you make one with UDP and instead forces you to use Palworld, that's okay. And then, of course, you can pick your server. So by now, I'm assuming you have set up your server. And then you can just click on the server you want. And then you can say, all right, hit next. So now the final thing you're going to want to do is leave it as 127.0.0.1. That's a loopback IP. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. All it really means is that it's sending any information that it was going to send out to the network back to itself. And then we don't care about the protocol, but we do want to care about the local port. So we want to come back to our AMP instance. And as you can see, it's 8211 right here. I'm going to zoom in. So 8211. So we just want to put right here, 8211. Then we can hit next. And then we'll create tunnel. We now give it a second to boot up. All right, awesome. Go. We have our tunnel. And as you can see, the IP is called theft because with playit.plus. So this is where, if we come back to our diagram here, this is that playit IP that we need everyone else to be able to access. But as we know, Xbox and PS5 players cannot connect through typing in an IP. They have to connect through community servers. So let's go ahead and copy this IP right here. And we'll go back over to our AMP server. We're going to want to go over to Manage Instance, Configuration, and Palworld. So the biggest things we want to change right here, server public IP right here, and paste this in real quick, and then delete everything from the semicolon right here over to the IP gone. And then we're going to want to come back and just know this number. So my number was 1698, but yours is going to be different. So we're going to say 1698, and then you want to come over to the left here, and you're going to want to use custom port. Then lastly, I recommend you give your server a password. And there we go. So now we have this part set up. So if you want to edit your gameplay or multipliers, you can come over here and edit that stuff. Of course, you can come down here and we'll just double check that crossplay is enabled. And it is, as we can see, make a community server is enabled. That's good. Cross-platform play is enabled, it looks like. So everything's good to go. And now, lastly, all we have to do is boot up the instance. So we can now hit start. So before we actually continue this, let's abort this. And let's come here and let's change this to, let's call it example server for YouTube about how to use Dedicated. Right? That's the name now. And in the bottom, it's still downloading everything. That's fine. That's what we want. It just takes a little bit of time. Then we're good to go. And now let's stop it real quick because we did not want that to happen. All right, now let's start it. So wait for everything to connect. We're not worried about the REST API. It should say no listening for here. Everything else should say listening. CPU use, memory, awesome. So everything looks good. Oh, we need to click on server. So, and example server for YouTube, how to use AMP and play.gg. And we can see all our settings. And it's going to ask for a server. So type in the password and hit OK and hit yes. Sometimes it won't let you connect. But it just worked right there. So as you can see, I'm in the server right now. That's it. That's running. So let's say that it didn't let you connect. So what you would want to do is you would need the IP of the server. So in your Windows PowerShell, you can type ipconfig. So once you've done that, you'll see a whole bunch of text. But the biggest thing you're looking for is your home DNS right here. So as you can see, we have the address 192.168.1.12 assigned to us. If you are hosting your AMP server from your Windows machine that you plan to play the server on, then I recommend you go ahead and use this IP here. But if you're running it on a separate Linux machine like I am doing, you might want to follow these next steps instead. So let's say that this is your Linux server, then we're going to want to type IP adder. And there we go. So now this is giving us all of our information. the biggest thing we want to look for is our local IP. So it's going to be the ENS33, right? And then we're going to want to come down and we see that it's 192.168.66.138. So that's this thing's local IP. This is a virtual machine, but this is how you would get your IP on a Linux server as well. So we can come down here, we can paste that in. Then we would want to do 8211, and that's the IP of my local connection. Then we can say happy fun time. And now, if we join back, we should see that's the same server. And it'll actually just put us into the same state that we were right when we left. Boom. So that's how you would want to connect if it doesn't let you connect to the community server on your first attempt. All right. And there you go. You're now in the game. So before I leave you guys off, I want to go ahead and give you a few quality of life settings for your server so that you don't have to worry about it going down as much and just an overall more convenient experience. So we're going to want to come to schedule here. All right, so there are 3 triggers we have here. The ones I recommend turning on is whenever there is an update via the Steam CMD, you want to go ahead and schedule an update and restart once the last user is left immediately after. So go ahead and turn that one on. And then if you want local backups, I would also recommend you enabling this as well. All right, and then the final thing you want to do is come on over to configuration again, and then you want to go down to system settings, click on system, and then we're going to want to switch do nothing to update and start. This will keep your instance always up to date, and whenever the instance goes up, the server will go up as well. So this is very important for long term. We just didn't want to go ahead and start right away when we first booted everything up. But now that we have everything going, we're good to go ahead and just let it start itself up and update whenever we're ready. And that's all. Hopefully this helped. Enjoy Palworld.